You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhaeghe was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Ritchie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to stay up to date with all of our live IceDogs coverage, as well as those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. You can give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. Stay up to date with all of our IceDogs news, as well as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that sort of thing. So, Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to break down the IceDogs 4-3 overtime loss to the Windsor Spitfires in Windsor's only trip to St. Catharines tonight. It was definitely quite the game for two of the most improved teams in all the Ontario Hockey League this year, in front of a crowd for the Niagara IceDogs that I will find in a minute because they do not have the attendance up. 35-31, so pretty good crowd here tonight on a Sunday afternoon, the last week of regular season NFL football, but people came out to support the IceDogs today, finishing 1-1-1 on the week, Cam, because that game in Owen Sound postponed last night due to the inclement weather, keeping everybody safe there. But the IceDogs, again, catching Windsor at the end of a road trip, but the away team found a way to get enough energy to pull out the extra point tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a disappointing finish to the end of that game. I thought that they were kind of fighting the puck from, the start of the game. They had a ton of great chances in the first, but the puck just bounced over their stick. There was an Asadorian play in which I think he might have had the puck hop on him 3 times in the span of 2 seconds on a 2-on-1. But again, that's just how it goes sometimes. They're going through a bit of a rough stretch after winning 7 straight games heading into the holiday break there. And now coming out of it, they're 1-4. So obviously not ideal in a stretch that they want to kind of nip in the butt, and obviously not getting to play Owen Sound, a team that's struggling in the Western Conference. Obviously going to be rescheduled at some time, but it would be nice to have that game because you expect the IceDogs to win that one. So they enter into next week with a pretty tough stretch with Saginaw, then Sudbury, and as well as another matchup with Peterborough. So hopefully we can see some points there. But just a difficult stretch here. I thought that this game was again, I thought the IceDogs played half decent in the first half of the game, but that third period they really relied on Flores, and more concerning was the amount of breakaways. I think we saw more breakaways in this game given up than they had in the first or the last month of the season. So Flores bailed them out on essentially every single one. So not what you want to see, but an off night from the D-Corps, which has been stout, but at least they did get the 1 point.
Yeah, Flores has now started 27 of the last 30 games for the IceDogs in the net, and we'll hear from IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau later tonight on the Wild Bills Auto Repair postgame, giving his flowers to his overage goaltender. And like you said, it could have been definitely, with Windsor's firepower, them sitting third place in the Western Conference right now. They're part of that big three out in the West with Kitchener and London right now. And for the IceDogs, you look at it, a really tough game in London the other night where they were down 9-1, ended up 9-4. To come out and still able to get a point on this week, they finished 1-1-1. So even though you take away that game there, it still only counts as 2 points in the standings no matter what. So they earned 3 of a possible 6 this week.
Yeah, and obviously with that New Year's Eve game with Peterborough. But yeah, it was nice to get to see Windsor. I mean, not often you see two teams that finished 19th and 20th in the league end up getting matched up against each other, and they're both in the top 5 or 6 in the league the next season. So two teams in a very similar situation. But Windsor, man, you don't get to see a lot of their top talent if you're a fan of an Eastern Conference team in the OHL. But that AJ Spellacy, I thought, had a fantastic game. He was all over the place. A Chicago draft pick, I believe, and they obviously Greentree ends up being extremely impactful as the game got along. But I thought that the IceDogs, again, I thought they worked well in the first half, but that last period, I thought they were just trying to hold on.
Your first look at our first overall pick, Ethan Belchez. What did you think there?
I didn't, to be honest, I didn't notice it. He wasn't playing any very physical. I thought there was definitely a lot of chippiness and not a lot of the after whistle stuff, but it wasn't involving him really. But I noticed him on the power play with a couple of good one-timers, but he did, I believe, get a goal or an assist involved in one of their first 2 goals when they came back. But obviously the size of him alone is impactful. That whole team has some big guys on it, so. They're always going to be tough, and I think that Western Conference teams, much like in the NHL from back in the early 2000s, they look like they play a lot more physical because they're just bigger, I think.
Yeah, he had that one-timer on the right circle late in regulation when Windsor had that power play. Owen Flores made the save. Belchez, good game, but the IceDogs do earn a point in this contest, and we'll get into it first with our prep list brought to you by Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano. We tried the rest. Now it's time to try the best. Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, serving the Niagara community since 2013. Check them out at carmine'spizzeria.ca for the best pizza and wing combos anywhere in Niagara. Cam, go ahead and break down the lineup for us tonight.
Well, again, I thought that the first line with Kevin as well as Loshko and Paris now back from injury, I thought they had their stretches where they were able to cycle the puck. I thought it was kind of an off night for Zada and Robrick, and I think that maybe we're not going to, Robrick has the goal, and I just Zada had his moments, but. It wasn't wasn't the dominant performance that we're used to. Really, to be honest with you, I thought the decor, again, like I mentioned, struggled a little bit. I thought that Wysick and Van Vliet were activating offensively, but they also gave up quite a few odd man rushes and breakaways. There wasn't a lot of maybe communication. I'm not sure as to what led to all of those odd man rushes and things like that. But I think that. Going forward, I expect it to kind of look like what it did, leading up to this game or for the majority of the season, to be honest with you. I thought that, Gallianov had a pretty good game as well, and Crete gets rewarded, which we'll talk about in the scoring summary. But I thought it was nice to see Kevin really engaged. He had a great hit, which ended up leading to Loshko's disallowed goal. But, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of big hits that led to odd man rushes and things like that. Special teams is a bit of an issue, I think, and they give up the power play goal late in the game, and you don't want to see that. But like I said, I think that Asadorian, again, I thought he had a great game, and Levin. I thought that I noticed him earlier on, but outside of that, I think, like I said, I think it was just an off night for the decor.
Jack Brody back in the lineup after the 2-game suspension for slew footing, so he got back in the lineup as well. And you look at the decor, we usually talk about that being one of the strengths of the team.
Yeah.
And just tonight, again, maybe it was something Windsor did in the pre-scout, right? Like, you never know what the other team is going to do as far as how they're going to try to game plan against the team, look for their weaknesses, obviously. And obviously they found something tonight in Niagara's D. I mean, I know Ben Boudreau talks about the turnovers and things like that, but it seemed like Windsor just did a good job of trying to find where Niagara has some deficiencies getting back in their own end.
Well, no Joey Costanzo in net for Windsor, and they're on, the second half of a back-to-back, so maybe, they thought that it might be cookie night, but just a lack of communication, I think. Like I said, it was such an off-character night for the IceDogs decor, because I want to say they gave up 4 clean breakaways and a few 2-on-1s as well, and you just haven't seen that at all this year. I mean, they went weeks without giving up a single breakaway, so all the credit to Windsor as well. They came out again on the road, could be a tired group, but they finished strong and came all the way back with a nice goal in overtime. So.
Get into our game stats tonight, brought to you by Gales Gas, your go-to gas station in the Niagara region, not just a gas station or a local tradition, because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gales multiple locations across Niagara. The Spitfires outshoot the IceDogs 39-34 in the end. The big one was the middle period. They're 14-6 in favor of Windsor, and then they only needed one shot in the 4-on-3 overtime to get the victory there. As far as the special teams, you kind of mentioned it already. 2 for 6 for Windsor, including the game winner. Niagara 0 for 3 on the power play, which has been a much better strong suit this year, sitting at 25% as opposed to 10 the past year, and then 44-40. A lot of face-offs in this game. Just a lot of stoppages, a lot of reviews, a lot of stuff going on. So this game took a lot longer than maybe some of the other ones we've seen. But anything stand out to you from the game stats tonight?
No, I mean, it did feel very long, including the overtime, obviously, but there was a few stoppages and, a disallowed goal, things like that. But, yeah, like I said, the first period, it was like the ice was just, choppy. It wasn't clean. There wasn't a lot of good breakout passes. It was a lot of off the boards, hopping over the stick, that kind of thing. And I thought the IceDogs played it pretty well. I thought they had their legs moving early on. There's a couple of big hits. I thought Van Vliet had a great game, including a beautiful goal. I don't know what he was doing down there, but Andy almost had a nice dangle too. Again, you're just not used to seeing that out of him, but he was his normal physical self. Unfortunately, took a penalty, I believe, as well late in the game on the boards on Green Tree. But I thought that he's again exactly what the team needs, but just a rough night defensively for the entire decor.
On the dot tonight, Andre Lashko, 15 of 29. Ethan Zada, 10 of 22. Alex Asadorian, 9 of 23. Ivan Galyanov was 6 of 9 tonight as a winger, jumping up to the wing at some points. He was very efficient in the 9 faceoffs that he took tonight. So as far as what we saw at the end of the game there, we saw Windsor, I believe, score 2 goals off of faceoff plays. I believe it was 2. If not 1, the other one wasn't a direct goal, but they kept the puck in the zone and worked it around and then ended up getting that game-tying goal. But I remember the one from the point, right off a face-off win, it really killed the IceDogs tonight. Yeah,
and usually Lashko specifically and Asadorian since he's come back, but they're usually nails in their own zone late when they need to win a draw. But they've got some great talent up front for Windsor. And like I said, Spellecy was just a handle. It was very tough for them to deal with, and he had a couple breakaways himself, but they just it worked in the end. That third period, it looked like the IceDogs were just trying to hold on to the lead, and very rarely against a good team are you going to be able to do that.
Get into our scoring summary tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. Ryan Robrick opened the scoring in the second period. It was a scoreless first. Early in the second, 2:23 mark, comes down the left wing, goes 5-hole on their goaltender was not Joey Costanzo.
New
Love, thank you. I was thinking something with Love, but New Love beats him 5-hole, and Ryan Robrick's 28th of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that he's already got 28 goals. That was a goal scorer's goal because he was coming down the wing, pretty bad angle, and just snapped it home 5-hole. And again, that was a scoreless first period, but a great job by Ryan, who's really taken over the leadership offensively of this team. And again, I think that it's kind of surprising just given how good Kevin's been, and really shows the kind of year-over-year progression from Robrick as he continues to march forward statistically. I mean, what are we thinking? I mean, 40-goal season for Ryan Robrick? That would be pretty impressive in his second season in the OHL. But, no, great first goal there, 5-hole.
He's on pace for just about 100 points and about 53-ish goals.
Not bad for a 17-year-old.
Not bad, but he's leading the IceDogs in goals now with his 28th. Kevin He with 25. The IceDogs end up going ahead by 2 here, extending their lead, and as you mentioned, a guy that you don't usually see jumping up on the play, and it's Noah Van Vliet, who was kind of falling and just was able to kind of whack the puck and get it by New Love there to give the IceDogs even a bigger lead just 2 minutes after they scored their opening goal.
Oh, he scored on a wraparound. That was the most surprise. I have no idea what he was doing down there, but he got knocked down as he was doing it, and an impressive goal, and good for him. I think you see the team react when Van Vliet gets on the board, and I thought he had a really strong game from the physicality standpoint as well as offensively. There was more flash than I think we've ever seen from him. But yeah, obviously that was a big one to go up 2-0 before they kind of let their foot off the gas.
Yeah, and something we didn't mention there early on was Owen Flores. Another scare for the IceDogs, and when Owen Flores has been such an Iron Man for this team, and anytime he goes down in the IceDogs crease, I think us and all the IceDog fans kind of, hold our breath a little bit. It was just a weird play, nothing intentional. Windsor was on a power play, and they were just around the crease, tried to whack the puck, and a stick ends up hitting Owen Flores up high in the head, and he was down for a couple minutes with David Pandolfi, the trainer, but he ended up shaking it off with the Owen chant from the crowd, and he's able to remain in the game.
Yeah, I got to give props. Well, obviously, I mean, it's actually spectacular that Owen's able to handle the workload. That's impressive for anyone at this level of hockey. But I want to give a shout out to the crowd. I've been pretty critical over the season. I think New Year's Eve we had a first sellout, 5,300 people, and I think that maybe the fans are starting to realize the IceDogs are good this year. The casual fan, and this place had 3,500 people in it today on a Sunday. Which again, we drew a rough schedule this season with the majority of our home games on Sundays, and obviously with going up against football and things like that, it's not always going to be the most packed building, but 3,500 people, we'll take that. It was loud, and you nailed it on the head with the Owen chants. That was really nice to see.
Yeah, now with football playoffs starting, I don't know if that's going to be better or worse. I mean, neither of our teams are in it, so it really doesn't matter with the Patriots and Falcons. But that's a whole other story. But the Spitfires end up getting on the board just about a minute and 20 seconds after Van Vliet makes it 2-0 IceDogs. And it's Weingard with a great feed from Ethan Garden. That was a really nice setup for the Windsor Spitfires' first goal.
Yeah, there was nothing they could do on that. That was just, they snapped the puck around, and it was a great feed for one of the easier goals he's probably going to have in his career.
And then it was Ethan Belchez getting on the board in the second period to get the game tied on the power play. Assist from Jack Nesbitt. Their last two first-round picks have been really nice there with Nesbitt and Belchez, and they get the game tied on the power play, which was one that you really wanted to see the IceDogs be able to kill there and be able to take a 2-1 lead into the third.
And they're both massive, Nesbitt and Belchez. I mean, that, like I said, that team is awfully big. Ethan Martin, too, got into it. He's 6'6", I believe. So, it's tough that they blew the lead, too. I will give them credit, though. The IceDogs, kept in it. They haven't really blown leads and then just completely fallen apart. So, obviously a rough game in London, earlier in the week, and you think that, okay, maybe, obviously another Western Conference team. But I thought that they did a good job to stick with it and work through the issues they were having.
And then the IceDogs are able to get the lead about the mid-period portion of the third period. Owen Flores makes a save, and then Max Creet's able to pick up the puck. And, Cam, you're going to have to tell me what happened on this goal because I was invested in football.
Yes, it was. I have no idea. I think it was the weakest muffin flutter right over Anulov and in the net. Crete went to go take a shot, and either it was blocked by a body or a stick, but it literally looked like it was just lobbed in the net. And you mentioned it. The biggest part of that play was a huge save at the other end on Flores. I don't believe it was a breakaway. I think it was it was the 2-on-1 that Morrow missed wide open, and it's just, that's hockey. It was one of the most wide open 2-on-1s you're going to see, and Morrow just kind of skied it over the net, and the other way, Crete gets it, and sometimes that's the thing about hockey. You need a little bit of luck, and love to see Crete get rewarded, though.
The Spitfires, were pretty adamant that this goal was offside as well. And they didn't get the call down. The Windsor press box here was pretty adamant that that goal was offside, no review. So the IceDogs had that lead still with no review on that, but they were able to get the goal there at the 15:06 mark. Ryan Abraham finding Eichler for the game-tying goal. Again, Owen Flores did everything he could to keep them in this game today with 35 saves, but the IceDogs, for a team that had yesterday off and Windsor coming in as a team that just played in Erie last night, they had a little bit of a pep in their step at the especially the last 10 minutes. They were really pressing, and they were able to get the game tied.
Yeah, and they were just coming in waves. That one I think Owen would want back. It was tough to see from up here, but it was a pretty easy wrist or something that you would have expected Owen to see. Again, it was right off the face-off and not a one-timer. It was just a very weird throw-it-on-net kind of situation that just kind of landed in there. But you mentioned, you nailed it on the head there. I mean, they have the day off, and Windsor coming in after a rough game in Erie, and they're not able to hold on to that lead in overtime. But, again, you want to finish off the game strong, and they're going to have to work on that over the next couple of months before we head into the playoffs.
Yeah, to me this was almost like a learning game because you go up against a tough team like that is a playoff caliber team that you're going to be facing in April, not this team specifically, but those types of games where you have a lead and the other team's pressing to be able to have, that poise to be able to stay in there. And another learning curve for the IceDogs late in that game. They can't get the puck out. Blair Scott is called for a slash, I believe, and it gives Windsor even a chance to win it in regulation. Luckily, Owen Flores came up with a few big saves, especially that Belchez one-timer on the right circle for the IceDogs to even survive to get a point there. Yeah,
and Flores came up big when they needed to, but yeah, again, it was some bad tendencies, looking like they were just trying to survive any way they can, and they're going to need to work on that. We've talked about it all year. This team's got to learn how to play with the lead, and I thought they've done a great job getting better as the season went along, but this one was a little tough.
The 4-on-3 in overtime, so the IceDogs earn a point. They had two defensemen back there with Van Vliet and Wysick along with Loshko, and they were able to keep Windsor to the outside a little bit. Windsor was a little bit passive at the beginning of the power play, but then 50 seconds in, they kind of get one cross crease, and Liam Greentree, the LA Kings first-rounder, buries his 29th and the game winner.
Yeah, he just waited out. Van Vliet went down to try and block a pass and get in front of the shot, and he just kind of waited him out and went backhand upstairs for a really nice goal. But yeah, obviously tough to see them celebrate on home ice.
Yeah, so the IceDogs finished 1-1-1 on this week, and again, they led twice in this game at 2-0 and then 3-2, so it's just what could have been, especially against a very tired Windsor team. You almost thought that the IceDogs should have got the 2 points, but if you watch the last 10 minutes, they're lucky that they even earned a point with the way Windsor was able to kind of hem them in the last 10 minutes of regulation.
Well, they are 28-10, so it's not like Windsor's a pushover by any stretch. But yeah, I thought they played well. They are the team that gives up the most goals in the Eastern Conference. Again, they've scored the most and give up the most, so I'd love to see them start locking it down over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you really would. They're giving up a lot of goals right now, and obviously Ben Boudreau, that's something that he's going to address. We're going to hear from him right after the break, so stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. We'll be back right after this.
Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station, they're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today. Because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gale's! Learn more at gales.ca.
Did you know that the Global Pet Food stores in the Niagara region are all independently owned by members of the local community? We believe that pets are truly part of the family and are a source of joy in everyday homes around the world. Yet that living, loving experience usually doesn't happen all on its own, but takes extra effort to create and maintain. And we want you to know that the owners and staff at Global Pet Foods are always there to help you keep it going, any way we can, because we believe. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
Celebrating a birthday, wedding, graduation, or just watching the big game? Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano is there to satisfy your pizza needs. Serving handmade Italian pizzas created with the freshest, top-quality ingredients, loaded subs, and their famous chicken wings. Platinum Award recipients of Community Votes Niagara for Best Pizza and Wings in all of the Niagara region. 3 years running. Open 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week from their brand new location at 7156 Drummond Road in Niagara Falls. All payment options accepted to fit your convenience. Available for call ahead, pickup, or delivery. Place your order today at 905-374-4400 or check out their online menu for the best quality pizza and wing combos you'll find in Niagara at carmine'spizzeria.ca. You've tried the rest, so why not try the best? Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, proudly serving the Niagara community since 2013.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianov.
This is Matthew Virgilio.
My name's Jack Brody.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast.
The official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in on our Armchair GM Sports Network live stream today on our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to stay up to date with all of our live coverage here on our live post-game shows. And thank you to those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are back with you. Cam, before we get to IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the Wild Bill's Auto Repair post-game, definitely tense moments right now for every team. Trade deadline is, I believe, January 10th, so at the end of next week. So the IceDogs will play that game against Saginaw and then have to go up for a quick one-off in Sudbury before coming home to play Peterborough and Gavin Bryant there on another Sunday afternoon. So again, could be a lot of movement around the league. We saw at the time of recording this that trade just came through with North Bay and Barrie, with Barrie loading up once again with getting Anthony Romani and Owen Van Steensel with a great young player in Parker Vaughn going back the other way for North Bay. But we were talking about it as we were kind of coming back up that they still got some games against North Bay left, and they look like they're in full sell mode. They got some games against Sudbury. They was kind of hit and miss right there in the division. Brampton, they've already played pretty well already in that sense. So you look at what their upcoming schedule is and still sitting third in the conference. A lot of moving parts here, but as far as where the IceDogs are, they're still in a good shape to be around that 3, 4, 5 area.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's kind of what the goal is at this point, a home playoff round. And I think obviously expectations have changed since the beginning of the season when we just wanted to see the playoffs. I could say that, that's probably guaranteed at this point with North Bay selling and Peterborough having such a tough start to the season. So playoffs are definitely a check mark. But at this point, after how well that they've shown in the first half, a home playoff round where they get that 4th game out of 7 if need be in the first round would be pretty big. I think the Eastern Conference is kind of wide open. Outside of Barrie and Oshawa have definitely separated themselves, especially Barrie. I thought that was a great trade for North Bay, to be honest with you. I think that they did very well, but so they'll probably only have a one-off season. But nonetheless, I think the 2 most interesting teams in the Eastern Conference as to what's going to happen is Sudbury, who has to deal with Quentin Musty. What's going to happen there? His injury is going to hold him out until about the end of January. So even if they move him, that's it's going to be pretty tough. But they've had a better season, I think, than maybe they anticipated with the losses, obviously, of Dalbert Dvorsky, who actually had a really good World Juniors, no longer with the team. So they lose
Goyette.
And David Goyette, the 2 parts of what was odds on probably one of the best lines in the OHL last year. And Quentin Musty has missed the majority of the season from the holdout and then obviously the injury. So that's definitely all eyes are on what they're going to do because, like I said, they've had a pretty successful season so far. And it looks like they might make the playoffs. But that being said, Niagara is the other one. I think everyone is wondering what Niagara is going to do. I think it's very tense. We're going to hear from head coach Ben Boudreau as well, but I think that he kind of alludes to it as well. The team is very close-knit. This team has gone through a ton of adversity over the last few seasons, and they've managed to deal with that and have a great season so far, one that has exceeded expectations. And obviously, I think that a trade for someone massive like Jet Luchenko or Quentin Musty would be exciting, but I think a lot of fans would kind of cautiously be optimistic there, because a trade like that is probably going to involve one of the young studs in Creighton and Wasselin, and I think that would be a mistake. I think that those two are going to be huge contributors, and I think that next year is really their championship window opening up. So we'll have to see what happens, but if they're not going to buy at the deadline, then are they going to sell? And what happens there? I just think that they're a team that, because they've missed the playoffs so often over the last few years, that even though they're not going to sell, I think that might be them buying, and I think that isn't a terrible idea, and I think that riding it out with this team would be the best for all the young guys in the room, and see what happens. So, yeah, we're coming down to about 5 days to the deadline, and we'll see what happens. The Western Conference is an absolute war, so we'll have to see what happens out there as well, but, Barrie making the first big move.
A strategic buy or sell trade, I think, is something that we could see for the IceDogs because their draft pick cupboard is not what you would expect for a team that has missed the playoffs the last 4 years. Even when you look at teams like Brampton and Brantford with some of the trades they've made, they have a ton of second-round picks to use at their disposal. The IceDogs just don't have that, and as you mentioned, you don't want to give up your young core for 2027. So right now they kind of have to stay put because they don't have a plethora of extra second, third, or fourth-round picks like some of these other teams.
Yeah, and obviously the depth of the healthy scratches and things like that is so much far improved from last year, where they didn't really have enough players to ice a full roster near the end of the season. But when you think that, Frasca has done a really good job in terms of becoming a legit OHL player in his first year. So maybe there's a potential to move out of defenseman. But you don't want to challenge the depth too much. We saw what happens when they lose Asadorian, who's had injury troubles in his past. Paris is just coming off a pretty big injury as well. But I think this team is pretty deep. And again, I don't think it's about this year. I think that this year is going to put them back on the map and for the rest of the league. And it's the following 2 seasons where things get really real. So don't go out and trade any of the high picks and stuff that you've got left. Make your moves in the coming seasons.
They almost already did all their moves in the offseason when you bring in Virgilio, you bring in Van Vliet, you bring in Brody and Scott. You gave up picks in those trades, so you got to think of that as revamping that decor. And then the extra picks you did have, you traded away to London to get Aerosmith. So you've already almost made your deadline trades for the year even started, other than the Aerosmith deal, because they just don't have a lot to play with right now. And we were talking with Mike Karafalidis, the radio voice for the Brampton Steelheads up here today, and he was talking about that Brampton team finally getting healthy, and they've got some picks at their disposal too. So that's another team that came in the season guns a-blazing, first in the CHL, and right now they're sitting 6th in the Eastern Conference because they missed 12 players for about a month or so. So that's another team to, you look at the IceDogs and say that'd be a tough out in the first round.
And whoever gets Brampton in the first round is going to have an awful time, because and it's shaping up where it could be Niagara. I think that as it stands right now, Niagara is going to, the way that the team has been constructed, I think that maybe they don't have the team depth like Oshawa and Barrie and even Brampton when everyone's back, but I think that they'll be able to hold their own. I would love to see a first round against Sudbury. I think they'd match up pretty well against Sudbury, again, seeing as what happens there. And Kingston has really come back down to earth, but they've got some great players in Urinen as well as Igorov, I believe, is their goaltender off the top of my head.
No, it's Nolan Lalonde.
You're right, correct.
And Mason Vicari.
I always mix up. For some reason, I always mix up Vicari and Igorov for some reason. But yeah, that might be a little bit better of a matchup. Again, I think a successful season at this point. We keep moving the goalposts because it's make the playoffs and it's get a home ice advantage. But I'd love to see them get out of the first round, or at least go deep in the first, right? But that's, after watching them for so long this season, they have the high-end players like Robrick and Kevin and Loshko and Zada. They're capable of stealing a couple games, and who knows? It's hockey.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see, and we'll have our post-trade deadline episode in video and audio once we talk to GM Wes Consorti, fallout from the OHL Trade Deadline. Going to be a crazy week, and rumors, flying all over Twitter and everything like that. But we'll see what the teams look like coming out of that in the middle of a week for Niagara. But we'll get to our IceDogs Postgame with the head coach Ben Boudreau, brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road. In Niagara since 2012, in honor of the late William Robert Hunter, here's what the IceDogs head coach had to say about his team's 1-1 week and falling in overtime to the Windsor Spitfires.
What was the message to the boys after that one?
Everything was supposed to be team-oriented. The only time we get in trouble is sometimes when we think about ourselves, and defensively we've got to find a way to commit to a few things. And I thought we did it for a long stretch of the game where we committed to defensive hockey, and it really showed for us. But the same story against Windsor that we played them last time. Their special teams carried them over us.
For sure, yeah. If it wasn't for Flores, that game might have been a lot different. It sounds like a broken record, but he's got to be, if he's not the best goalie in the league, I'd like to see who is.
I mean, when you look at the analytics on Sport Logic, the same system that we use in the NHL, I mean, he's got the most saves in the league. He's played the most minutes. I mean, he's our expected goals against, we rank 20th. We're expected to give up the most goals, and in fact, compared to what we actually do, it's 6th. And that just talks about not only Flores, but Robertson involved there. I mean, we're a highly offensive team that struggles defensively after 40 games. I think you can kind of see that. And, as a coach, you have to identify where you're weak and try to continue to get better. And, 9 goals against on Friday. And, it took them, 4-3 there tonight to win. So, 13 goals against on a weekend isn't going to cut it come playoff time.
And it's easy to point to the defenseman if he coughs up a puck or something, but it's more than that, though, isn't it?
It's a 5-man stop. You have to have your forwards holding up. You got to have your forwards blocking shots. Their game-tying goal would have been lovely to have a block shot and not even allow it to get to the net, and we didn't get it. And when you put pucks on net, good things are going to happen, and that's what kind of came back to bite us in the rear end.
Sure, yeah. Now, Friday night, you got down early. What happened in that game?
I think we gave them way too much respect by the time we took a breath and opened up our eyes. I think it was 4-0. And after that, we wanted to come out and win a period. And then it was 7-0 in the first 3 minutes of the second. The team was better than us in every single facet. And I think we respected them too much. And, we played 5 regular D. And I thought we missed Jack Browdy quite a bit. And at the end of the day, we didn't execute in any one given area where London was, excellent in every given area. So we just didn't match up against well at them, and it showed.
Sure. Now, it's probably not your area here, but you got the trade deadline coming up. Like, do you get involved in that? Or how do you look at that? Do you just with the guys you have type thing?
Coach the guys that you have, and right now this is a good group. I know we've lost 4 out of 5 games right before the break, 7-1, so kind of the tale of 2 slides, but. When you look at it, we're still a pretty young group, with the Waslins and the Zada and the Rubric and Gallianov and Crete, and, you look at it and say, are you going to beat the Londons? Are you going to beat Kitcheners? Are you going to beat Barries or Oshawas, that are all loading up with 20 and 19-year-olds, and you want to think that. But right now we're winning hockey games, and I'm not too sure if we're going to interrupt anything with our team. But if we do, great. And if we don't, great. Let's find a way to make the most out of it.
What's the mood of the team heading into the trade deadline?
I think everybody's going to be nervous. Everybody's always nervous in the deadline, and especially if you like it somewhere, you don't want to get moved. And I think you could look at our team in a number of ways. You're capable of going for it. You could also sell off and build for the future. No matter what way the management direction wants to go, we're going to do the best to win hockey games, as that's been our motto from day one, and control the things that you can.
Coach, that disallowed goal for Lashko, do you think that maybe was a turning point there where you could have been up there and then it gets called back and kind of changed the momentum back in Windsor's favor?
I didn't agree with it. I thought his foot was on the ice. It's tough for a kicking motion with your foot trying to stop, and I thought that should have been a goal. And, I didn't agree with a lot of penalties or the lack thereof, but at the end of the day, when you have the opportunity, you have to execute. And they did that on their power play. We didn't do it on ours, and they won the special team, and they ended up winning the game.
You didn't play last night, obviously, because of the postponement, and you knew that Windsor was tired coming in after playing in Erie last night, and it looked like they had a little bit more energy in the third period than you did. Was that an issue on your end from the bench?
Well, I mean, it's a concern when a game's coming in on the road and they're out playing you. I mean, I thought we had a lot of passengers tonight and not a lot of emotion. And to be honest with you, I thought that was a pretty good team, but we had opportunities to score in the first, and we didn't take advantage. And it could have been a different game. And when you let a good team hang around, that's what you're going to do. You got a team like that on the ropes on a Sunday, 2-0. You got to find a way to step on your throats, and you keep them around long enough. Even the 1-goal game, you keep them around long enough, they'll find a way to make you pay. And they did.
And you went 1-1-1 on the week, so again, mixed results there with the fourth game that didn't get played. But you talk about playing the right way, and it just seemed like the breakaways in that game, the defensive lapses a little bit. A team like that with so much top end talent, about 4 or 5 breakaways we counted today. Was there anything you could pinpoint of why the guys were allowing so many of those right there?
I mean, our D got to stop giving the puck away. I mean, Virgilio and Scott and Wizik. You got to look at the tape, but I mean, when our defense play the puck, you got to manage it. Lashko was in. You got to manage it inside the blue. You're gonna turn it over to a good team. Expect giveaways. So mismanaging the puck. I mean, it's not a pretty thing right now.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
There was IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the Wild Bills out of repair postgame. Cam, honest thoughts from the head coach. He's always there to praise his players, but if he knows that there's improvement, he definitely thought that it was some concern there with the defensive giveaways.
Yeah, and there was a couple instances where the defense jumped up offensively that led to legit breakaways, and I think that's something that he's referring to. The breakout wasn't clean as well, but that's a good team. It's going to happen again. This is not something that we see a lot of. This is the first night I can remember that head coach Ben Boudreau has been critical of his defense, and it showed in this one. But I don't think it's something that we should expect going forward. I think this was just a rough night against a very talented team up front, and they'll just move on. I did notice that he sounded a little. Not nervous, that's not the right word, but tentative when it comes to the the trade deadline and things like that. The OHL is so different than all the other pro hockey leagues in the sense that you've really only got 3 to 5 year windows with these guys, and all these players they're not they're not adults. They're growing up and they're on the move and things like that. It's much more difficult for a teenager than it is someone in their late 20s. So obviously they've got a lot of emotions right now, and maybe that's on their mind. Again, with Niagara and the situation they're in, literally no one has any idea what's going to happen. There is, including us, we're just kind of waiting and seeing. I think that how well they've done has really changed the course of what's going on, not to mention their 7-game win streak leading into the deadline, right? Obviously they've dropped 4 or 5. But I think that 8-4 over the last 12 and in third place in the Eastern Conference, tough to argue that isn't a good result.
With the guys that they have in that core, I think it's definitely an intriguing roster compared to maybe some around the league where you can tell that they're clear buyers or clear sellers. The IceDogs are right in that middle right now where they could if they wanted to, but they could also wait around. And again, like you mentioned, their window is open the next 3 years after this one. So tough decisions to be made in the next week, but you can tell the IceDogs head coach, as far as that performance goes, was not happy with some of the defensive play and said that, Windsor kind of exposed them there, but they were right for the taking. That goal by Lashko that we forgot to mention got waved off for a kicking motion, so the IceDogs could have been up by 2 at that point. So there's moments in this game where you can say that the IceDogs could have put away a tired Spitfires team at the end of a long road trip, but just weren't able to do so. So before we get out of here tonight, we're going to put Cam on the spot as always with our stick tap of the game. Brought to you by Hockey Stick Man. Pro Stock hockey sticks right up to major junior teams for half the retail price. A stress-free shopping experience from start to finish. Check them out at hockeystickman.ca to join their mission to saving hockey families money. Cam, who's your player of the game tonight for the IceDogs?
Oh, it was Flores. Again, this could have been well over in regulation. The amount of breakaways that he had to face against NHL drafted players is just absurd. And again, not something that we've grown accustomed to this season. That's the tendencies of the last couple, but Owen played great. Again, would love to see him get some rest here over the next couple months. But I also want to give a shout out to Crete. I thought Crete had a good game and was rewarded with a goal there. So good to see him keep plugging away.
Yeah, Robertson most likely would have played last night, and no one sound if that game would have been played. But Noah Van Vliet for me stood out. Obviously, getting the goal, had a couple of key block shots, had a couple of big hits. Because as you mentioned, Windsor's a heavy team, and
big.
Noah Van Vliet really had to show that heaviness tonight to be able to really knock some of those top big players off of the puck for Windsor. So to me, Noah Van Vliet definitely stood out tonight.
No, I can't agree or can't argue with that at all. He was someone that I thought about as well. So he's continuing to evolve in his overage season.
Okay, and final thoughts. We got the Memorial Cup champions coming in next Thursday for a home game, and then they'll be in Sudbury. But looking ahead to our next scheduled program is after that Saginaw game. We're going to get to see Michael Misa. We're going to get to see Zane Perek for their only trips to Niagara this season. Again, a little bit of fluttering Saginaw team in the middle of the standings there in the Western Conference. But what are you expecting, hopefully, from the IceDogs coming out next week? Again, things could happen. We could have some new guys on the roster, some guys out. But interesting game upcoming next Thursday.
Well, they're going to have a really tough game against Saginaw, especially with Zane Perek and Misa with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, obviously, not getting in the invite to Team Canada. But, you've got the Peterborough matchup on the 12th as well as Sudbury, both winnable games. Those are the games you got to win. If you're going to lose to the top-end teams in close games and, pluck away with some overtime points, things like that, you got to be able to win the games where you're ahead in the standings.
Absolutely. So that's going to wrap up our IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of the great Niagara region locations. Thank you to everybody tuned in live on our live stream and those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. So for Cam Halbert, my name is Brendan Caputo. The IceDogs fall 4-3 in overtime to the Windsor Spitfires in front of 3,531 here at the Meridian Centre. Have a good rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you again next Thursday following the game against the Saginaw Spirit.